Welcome back. And I think that's correctly faded out my music. I think my microphone may be a bit loud, so we'll tweak that down a bit. Right, so I have a plan. Well, I kind of have a plan. So I want to go back to Letmoszaneg, where we've been having a series of disasters, and try to have less of a disaster this time. So the first time we went there, hang on. Oh, what order is this? Oh, right, the calendar scrolls, does it? I see. Right, yes. So the last time we went back there, I tried to... yes, I tried to bring in some, like, actual military. That was not a success because they completely failed to mill it. And everyone died very rapidly. So this time, my plan is to... be carefully organised again, but essentially to turn up, immediately dig in and seal ourselves into a small but very carefully equipped hole in the ground, such that we won't run out of water, food, or things to sleep on, and thus my dwarves will at least have all of their basic needs met. So I slightly cheatingly ran a small expeditionary fortress yesterday where I set up a tiny, basically elsewhere in this same world, built a tiny fortress with with a set of equipment that I thought would work to try the techniques for building the thing that I will now try to build again. And it mostly worked, except that I screwed up some things which I now know not to screw up this time. So thus the first thing is we are not going to bring most of the rubbish that a normal dwarven fort brings, because most of the stuff is there already, and like we can't get it all indoors quickly, and if we can't get it indoors quickly, then we may as well harvest what the other people have got once the outdoors, well, if we can ever get the outdoors safe enough to go into. And if we can't get the outdoors safe enough to go into, then anything we bring with us that we can't get indoors before the zombies get us is doomed anyway. So, not bringing an anvil, not bringing any booze, water will do fine initially. Precisely. What we will bring is 100. It's going to cost rather a lot of points, actually. Maybe not. Let's go So is bring an awful lot of plump helmet spawn. So I don't think we need 100. Let's go for 50 because they do cost a point each.
What on earth is plump helmet spawn?
So a plump helmet is a kind of mushroom. Dwarves like mushrooms because they'll grow in the dark. Mushrooms can be eaten, and mushrooms can be brewed into alcohol, specifically into dwarven wine. Therefore, they are good things to have. Without a really good farmer, one plump helmet spawn will grow one plump helmet, which when eaten or converted into dwarven wine will produce one plump helmet spawn. This is not exactly a ratio that I like, but it will get better if we get better farmers. And the nice thing about seeds like this is that they come in bags, and a bag can hold up to 100 seeds. So up to 100 seeds is one object for the dwarves to bring inside at the start of the game. So it's worth getting a lot of the same kind of seed in this world where what I want is to minimise the number of objects I take. If, on the other hand, you're feeling like gratuitously exploiting the game, what you do is you buy one of every kind of seed in the game, and that gets you a huge stock of quite valuable bags. But I don't want that. What I want is a small number of items. So the only seeds I'm going to bring are the plump helmet spawn. Similarly, I don't want to bring lots of different kinds of food. I want self-transporting food, namely pigs. And the plump helmets the first round batch of plump helmets will grow before the dwarves become seriously hungry. So, what I do want, I think, are pigs. Pigs have the great advantage over cows that, curiously, they don't need to eat.
They just eat more indiscriminately than the cows.
They presumably eat so indiscriminately they eat things we don't even bother modelling in the game. Whereas cows need actual grass. We could probably get indoor grass now, or at least indoor floor fungus, because the earlier embarks penetrated the caverns. But on the other hand, pigs don't even have to have this problem. So I think we bring some pigs with us. I don't know quite how many to bring yet. So let's do that as a random selection for now, and we'll see how it goes. I think we want some cats. Actually, cats are well known for being terribly fertile. Now, I think I probably do want 2 females just in case of embarrassing disaster. So cats are useful for dealing with vermin inside the fortress. So they're quite cheap. We should just bring a few along with us. And animals have the nice advantage that they're self-transporting. They will just put themselves indoors if I tell everyone to get indoors. So probably. And like, if they don't, who cares? They get eaten by the zombies. Like, if we can get some of them indoors, that's good. Right. So the other equipment that I want.
If some of them stay outdoors and get eaten by the zombies, do you need to worry about the risk of zombie cats?
Yes. But really, compared to zombie dwarves, they're not really a problem. Just check my notes. So, yes, we want some wood. No, that's not actually a sensible way to find wood. Wood, and I think the lightest wood that you can get at embark time is willow. So we will take enough willow to build the wall to keep the zombies out, and 7 beds, which is the number of dwarves we're going to have, which should keep us going for a little while. We will need wood to build. We will have to temporarily use some wood to build workshops, but that's not a serious problem. Right. So I think we want enough picks that everyone can be a miner. No. Yeah, go on. Let's have everyone being a miner. I'm just thinking we might want to get some axes indoors because they're going to be useful for cutting down trees. And there are trees down in the caverns, and that will then get us more wood. So, yeah, I think let's go for having 7 picks and 7 axes, but with the expectation that we may not actually get all of them in. Should we? No. Spend the points on something more useful. 5 picks and 2 axes. Right, so then what I'll do is I will make the first 5 dwarves into proficient miners, and the last 2 into proficient woodcutters. And all being well, that will tend to cause them to pick up their respective tools. So we have 500 points left. I think I'm going to add slightly more pigs. And then what other skills are we going to want? We'll need carpenters fairly early on. And masons. Oops. Engraving we can get as we do it. We're going to want a good grower, yes. Let's give ourselves a skilled grower. I'm slightly dubious about giving him proficient because I want to make sure that they think of themselves as miners when they start and pick up their picks.
I'm a farmer, not a miner.
Yeah, precisely. So we'll just make that one a skilled grower. But that in particular will get us a decent output from the plump helmets. 300 points remaining. What else did I find myself needing? What do my notes say? That's pigs, maybe ablative meat, maybe not. Right, now I've got it. Right. In that case, let's spend another 50 points on another 50 plump helmet spawn. Right, so that's now a full bag of plump helmet spawn. And I'm not going to get a fisher dwarf. I'm not going to give anyone fisher dwarf because I think that will be unfortunate. I'm inclined to get myself another decent mason. Let's bump up our carpenter as well. And then it's kind of getting a bit arbitrary. Well, I used a mechanic in the previous game. Got a grower. Yeah, I don't think any of that's going to be much use. Well, let's just add some fairly random abilities until actually, if we are in a situation where we've got spare things, let's get ourselves a good engraver. Yeah, I think there's a limit to how much ability I can give to a dwarf, and it's meant to be displayed as a number next to the dwarf and is not being displayed. That's kind of unhelpful. Dwarf Fortress. Probably don't need. Well, probably want a bone carver. Well, let's give people some kind of. Since I apparently I think have 1 point left for most of my people. Yes. Just cause. Right. So I've still got 164 points remaining, which would buy me like 3 more pigs. I don't know. Yeah, go on. Oh, I could upgrade my picks to something better than copper, couldn't I? That would probably wipe out all of my money. Oh, can I not upgrade my picks? I can upgrade picks to bronze. Okay, so right, upgrade a couple of the picks to bronze. And then, well, I was kind of saying maybe I should have some ablative meat. Amusing things I can bring. I don't think I should bring 15 million rabbits. That's not going to help, even though they might be fairly ablative. Let's go for a gratuitous war dog. Oops, that's a cat. That's a war dog. I mean, I suppose now, having said that, I should obviously have chosen camels, but... Yes, precisely. Camels, though, are expensive.
No one-humped camel. No two-humped camel. Can't you count?
Yes. Right. So, I think that's my embark. I'm just going to peer at IRC and see what disasters people have been saying to me while we... Right. Let's go. I think, yes. It all looks good, kind of. Yes, I've got 1 spare point.
You nearly always have. Let's go!
Thank you. We've arrived.
Yeah, but I thought you couldn't do it anymore. That wasn't very fine. No, I can't do it anymore.
Strike the earth. And this time we are going to strike the earth pretty quickly. So yes, there will now be a short delay while the Dwarf Fortress gets its bottom into gear. Yeah, have some light music. Okay, right, Dwarf Fortress has sorted itself out. So, the world is full of pigs, the world is full of wagons, the world is probably full of undead, and I should not trust that I can't see any. So, which is our wagon? Hello, allow me to move the cursor, please, Dwarf Fortress. Done this before. Yes, right. That's our wagon. We can tell because if I move my mouse pointer, my cursor over any other wagon, we get twiddly braces around each of the items, which means that they are currently not allowed to be used by my dwarves. I mean, I have forbidden them from my dwarves, or rather the game has for me, in order that my dwarves won't immediately go trying to reorganise everything that's already there. So, we can just confirm that we have with us copper pick, copper battle axe, bag of plump helmet spawn containing, well, I'm going to assume that's 100 plump helmet spawn.
Do you often find that things in your starting inventory have been misshipped and actually become bobcat?
No, but I want to check that I actually asked for the right... want to check that my belief that I would end up with 1 bag with 100 plump helmet spawn in and not 100 bags each with 1 in has indeed been justified.
I would have to start by organising all into 1 bag.
Well, no, I would get underground with the pigs and leave the plump helmet spawn. Because we don't need that. The pigs and the plump helmets are kind of alternatives. You can't make alcohol from pigs, admittedly. But we can eat either of them. Right, so that's fine. That's our things thing, so we want to go down next to it. And if we start here and go eastwards, we won't run into the existing fort. So let us first try to dig. So that will dig us a hole in the ground here, which will appear as an upwards ramp on this layer. So then we should dig a short corridor. So there is where we will put a wall. And then dig out a largish area that should be big enough to stash all of the stuff that we want to stash. And all being well, there will now be an amount of faffage as the dwarves work out what on earth they're doing. So all of my dwarves are now trying to pick up some equipment. Our hope is that they will between them thus pick up all of the objects we wanted. So I've just unpaused for a second or so. Everyone is still trying to get their equipment. Right. Someone has set themselves up to dig that hole in the ground. And has now dug it. Well, no, now they're digging out the cave underneath, and of course they can do that in parallel. Okay, what the hell is that dwarf doing? Do not take my plump helmet spawn into the wrong... Do not try to plant seeds in the wrong fortress. Right, we already have a serious problem.
Everyone's gone the wrong way.
Someone has taken one of my dwarves has taken this nice bag of plump helmet spawn and is running towards the existing farm plot in the old fortress. This is not appropriate. It is probably infested with zombies, yes. Right, so first what we say is... how do I... tell this? Don't plant plump helmets down there. Doesn't seem to be... I mean, I thought what I did was to select it. Well, that did it at least. So let's just mark it as that one should be fallow in all seasons. In other words, don't try to plant something there. That door is already locked. So my problem is that there's a door somewhere around here that's not locked because it's got a dead something in it, and the dwarf has already passed that door and I think is standing in... So there's a door there, there's a door directly underneath them. I hit pause just too late, and that door is behind them. So I think I now have to hope that by having reconfigured that farm plot, they will decide that they shouldn't plant things. There is a slight danger that they may leave those seeds behind. So what I shall do is designate a kind of very temporary seed. No, that's not what I wanted. Food, but actually seed stockpile. There. So essentially that should, all being well, that dwarf will then go, oh, well, what can I do that's useful? I know, I'll put this bag of seeds in the seed stockpile where it belongs. Maybe. Let's single step for a moment. Right, dwarf is going in the opposite direction. And is admittedly now in a slightly weird store item in bag task. Actually, were they carrying... Oh, they're now carrying... They haven't taken the entire bag with them, I think. They've taken one plump helmet spawn with them. So actually, I don't need to worry about having lost the plump helmet spawn. I do need to worry... Right, lock that door. I do need to worry about the fact that they that my expedition leader and only good farmer is currently underground in the wrong fortress. So I'm actually just unpause briefly while they come back out. Right, that's good. And having 5 miners means I can clear that space pretty quickly. Right, so we now have a hole in the ground. So now what I actually want to do is to create a new stockpile, which will be for seeds and wood and everything we actually need to move indoors. What else did I bring with me? And weapons, just in case we have some. But I think all of the weapons are have actually been picked up. Actually, I can check, can't I? Let's see. What does our thing have in it? It has wood, bag of plump helmet spawn, and that's it. So it does actually just want to be you don't even need to enable weapons. So it's an unnecessarily large stockpile, but there we go. Right, so now everyone should bring the wood indoors. So come on, pick a good job. Right, everyone has now taken a store item in stockpile job. Yes, right. What have we spotted? Well, those will be scary once they die.
Zombie hippos, yes, absolutely. Can you hide from the zombie hippos?
Currently, they're on the far side of the map. I hope they don't reach me before I'm underground.
Okay.
So there's also the one hunt camel skeleton, which is there, which is a decent distance away. I hope. And the giant tortoises, all those are right over on the west. Okay, I hope that my dwarves will not be immediately terrified. What I am actually going to do though, can I mark this room now as a meeting area? So that essentially means if dwarves aren't doing anything, they should idle inside rather than on the surface. They're mostly still doing a store item in stockpile job, so that's good. Essentially, we want to do that until either some disaster occurs, or we've got a decent number of items in the stockpile, like all the wood. Right, some disaster is occurring. Well, that didn't last. that dog didn't last long. I mean, I admit I brought it as ablative meat. Someone will notice it has died soon. Okay, I think thus we are now in a position where anyone who hasn't already picked... So how much wood is there still out here? Well, probably we may have to accept... Yeah, there's only one willow log left outside. I think we have to accept that now is the time to get everyone indoors if we can. So let us delete the old indoor burrow and make a new burrow. Which will just consist of the space that's actually indoors here, and then say that alert should activate that burrow for civilians. So now the person who was trying to pick up the last log will stop doing so. And we want everyone to get indoors. Right, someone has noticed that the dog has died. I think we've already lost one dwarf. Yes. So that camel. Question is, can everyone else get themselves indoors in time? Yes. Okay, yes, we found more monsters. I mean, right now. Oh, don't want to unpause. How did I end up unpaused there? Right. Okay. Is that a zombie camel in the entrance? Right, this is not good. I mean, that's what I wanted to do, but I accidentally stayed unpaused for a few seconds when I didn't think I was unpaused. So, no, don't stand in the way there. Really need you not to stand on that square. Yes, that includes you, pigs. Right. Down to 4 dwarves alive, none of which has yet... Oh, right, yes. Maybe if I actually allow them to go into the square where we want to build, but yes, the danger is that now they won't actually go there. One of my dwarves is out in the wilderness. Right, so yes, they're not really where I want them to be at the moment. Plus, like, skeletons, quite scary. What? It's not meant to be forbidden. Look, it's not. Okay, I think I'm going to be a bit weird here. Wonder if this will work. Surely it won't. Kind of going, if I can dig something where the around a corner where the camel won't be able to see, can we hide in there from it? Obviously permit the dwarves into that area. Oh, stoats. Okay, I can't have accidentally asked for the wall to be built out of wood we can't get to. Yes, we've managed to remove some teeth from the skeleton. That's not... Well, I mean, it stops it biting them, I suppose. No, apparently it doesn't stop it biting. Oops. Yes, the major problem here is that, and look, now you've seriously damaged its legs. Can you not now run away from it? Like, it'll probably turn out that if you're 3 meters away... Right, I think I know what happens. When it says an ambush, it pauses. And then I pressed space at that point to pause, which unpaused. I went, "Ooh, a scary message, I must pause." Right. Oh, right, I think we've successfully beheaded the camel corpse. I might hope so. I'm not quite sure what we've still got around. So I think they should all be trying to get into... the, like, actual fortress. So what are you trying to store in the stockpile? Okay, you think you're still trying to get some wood inside. Well, I don't think that is the highest priority. That's suspended at the moment. I think we unsuspend that. We forbid the remaining willow logs. Sadly, we have found another zombie, but it seems to be above ground at the moment. I'm going to carry on. Thank you. Right, if I'm lucky, I'll have a dwarf in this fortress at the end. And I'm slightly worried that this wall is going to end up being constructed from the wrong side, and it does currently have an ill dwarf sitting straight on top of it. But I don't know that there's much to be done, except to desperately try to build it. People do occasionally come into the fortress and I think, oh, maybe we've got someone indoors, maybe they'll be able to finish building the wall. As yet, this has not been successful. Right, well that didn't work. I mean, some aspects of it worked and some didn't. The, staying alive didn't work. I think we need to dig a smaller hole so that we can get inside faster. Bring enough wood for one bed. Not accidentally unpause at the moment we find anything interesting going on. Yes. Yes, there might be some undead pigs next time. Who knows? Yes, Dizzy, this is quite hard because I'm playing this in stupid mode. If I hadn't decided to embark somewhere evil, it would be much easier. But where would be the fun? No, I didn't mean create new world. Right, start playing. I mean, I could start a sensible fortress. But this ought to be possible.
Did you know how we do?
Yes.
What did you drive this time?
Zombies, again. Mostly a camel.
It died with all your war with it?
Yes. Mostly a one-humped camel skeleton. That is a skeleton of a one-humped camel. It presumably has no humps left, as people have pointed out. I mean, I could do something sensible, but I keep thinking this ought to be achievable.
More and more zombies each time you
Hush. Yes, but the thing is, the number of them isn't really the problem. It's how fast they can get me versus how fast I can get out of the way.
What's a camel skeleton look like? People also ask, how many bones are there in a camel? The answer is, they are numbered as C1 to C7. Both camel and whale are mammals, hence they have 7 cervical vertebrae. Hence the number of cervical vertebrae in the camel is 7 to the whale, i.e. 7.
It
hasn't even answered the wrong question.
I don't know, people getting GPT-3 to write all their search answers these days. One of the AI things that will produce text for you within a prompt. Which these days more or less manages to produce grammatical English or English, but...
Yeah, think the updated version of the very old dissociated press thing that would consume someone's existing chunk of text and produce a stream of consciousness waffle in the style. It's slightly better at producing things that look like sentences and can go into a mode where, when you ask it a question, it can produce something that at least superficially sounds like an answer to that question. But it's still basically
gibberish.
Yeah.
and has the distinct disadvantage that unprompted it will tend to. But if you give it prompts like women or black people or whatever, then bad things happen. It's basically a massive neural net doing probabilistic weighting of what words appear near one another. So when you feed it a set of words, it goes and goes probabilistically which kind of words crop up with this kind of thing. And so if I'm asked to write about this, what kind of word salad should I produce based on probability? Except it's not quite as simple as probability.
Ooh, we're coming from somewhere that has iron now. Go on then. That'll burn all my points. Yeah. Okay, even one iron pick is pretty bad for my ability to take anything else with me. Maybe we'll stick to bronze. I suppose like that, yeah. Right, that burns most of my points. But on the other hand, no, I do need to take some wood, don't I? But only a few. Right.
There's a bat in the conversation. Vitally important batting needs to happen.
No. Right, so that's 6 picks, 6 miners and a woodcutter. No one is a grower.
Oh no, I have to look closely as well.
So, let's try again. Right, at some point I will give up on this and do something more sane, but currently my dwarves are horribly succumbing to the sunk cost fallacy. We've thrown so many resources at building something here. Right, so we're not digging out a 5x5 hole anymore. We're digging out a smaller hole. No one is going to go and plant things. Why is it that it becomes unresponsive to the keyboard for a bit? I wonder. Right, so there's last time's hole. That is this time's wagon, I presume. It has very few objects in it. The front door of the old fortress. So, yes. So let's see what's lying around down here. I mean, K. What's on the map? So there's, yes, some rotting corpses, rotting yak corpse there. That's a corpse of one of the dwarves from last time. I think at indicates dwarves who are not members of your fortress-ish. The boundary between at and smiley faces indicating a dwarf is a little bit fuzzy. So I'm going to assume that the old fort that we dug out is already infested. And dig a similar shape here, but smaller, because we only actually need to store a few logs and a. Oh, we need to be slightly careful here. We need enough room to build the wall. we've already found a problem, but that's okay. Right. So everyone has met Monon Follow Thread's corpse. Where is it? It's there. Okay, my hope is that you're not going to be so scared that you won't go near it, because if you are, I've got a kind of very early problem here. I don't want you getting into a fight. I want you digging a damned hole. This is our problem. The dwarves just have no sense of what's important in life. What is important in life is digging holes, not getting into fights with bloody zombies when you haven't picked up your weapons yet. Like, you're not going to deal with an undead corpse by punching it. You've got picks. One of them is made of steel. Hit it in the head with that and it might be hurt.
No, there's not going on. There's the miner, it's a stick.
Bending its knee is not going to cause it serious harm. You are not an undead skeleton or corpse. See, what all my dwarves are now doing is gathering around the undead zombie, trying to punch it to death. Like, maybe that will work? And it would work if it were a dwarf. But it isn't. It's a zombie. It's just going to kill you all. Probably. I mean, no, maybe one of you will get lucky. But while you're busy being distracted by it, the other locals are going to come and meet you. Right. Okay, I'm going to be a bit weird. Well, that's interesting. That's already an active meeting area. Okay. I'm just going, I should remove the zones that are part of the old fortress. Oh, I remember. Rather, the old fortress. But I'm now wondering if we can... If that being a meeting area is enough to cause the pigs to get in there. And they could actually show me what's going on, but they don't seem to be interested in going in there. Okay. In that case, let us change our plans. So, rather than trying to get in there, which no one seems to be interested in digging into, let us mark this area as being indoors, as being the burrow called inside, as we have been doing repeatedly to relatively little effect. And restrict civilians to that burrow, with the slight hope that might cause them to disengage. Probably not, or at least might cause some pigs to go in there, so you can see how dangerous it is. Okay, maybe they are disengaging. So restrict to burrow is stronger than fight instinct in dwarves, at least for the ones who are kind of not actively being eaten by a zombie. Major artery in the heart has been opened by the attack. Yeah, I think that's going to be fatal. But like, people are actually going inside and not finding that hole is full of zombies. Excellent, right. So what's in that square there? There's a corpse which needs to be unforbidden and then needs to be disposed of pretty promptly. Well, we might get lucky. There's some logs there which need to be unforbidden. And then, yeah, we're going to need to deal with that corpse anyway. Right, so then the plan is that we see if everyone can get in, or at least if some people can get inside here and build that wall. While the zombie is distracted. Sadly, it has killed that person. Get in, get further in. You don't want you standing at the entrance. Would it help if I adjusted the burrow to not actually include the bits near the entrance for now? Must remember to change this when I actually want something built, but... Right. We have two dwarves physically inside the fortress. This is not exactly the great success I was hoping for, but I think we need to start building that wall now. What I didn't expect was for you to immediately decide that being outside was going to help. I mean, I suppose... you feel that you should get involved in that fight, but you really shouldn't. Okay, let's change plans. we let them get too close to everyone else, if they just... No, start being silly. So let's just ban them from there. No. So, like, you're all indoors. How about you build that wall? Oh, I banned you from building the wall. How about you dig that hole? Right. I'm wondering if I want to do something completely different here. I'm sure this will not go well, but like my problem seems to be that the dwarves will not actually do a job while there's a fight they could be in, even if they can't be in that fight because they're not allowed to go near it. And they just sit here jobless, even though there's some digging to do. Right, I'm just going to check that they have digging enabled, but don't think so. Got mining enabled. But if on the other hand I can get them all into behind a door, I can lock the door, and then they can't get into the fight, and maybe they'll start behaving reasonably. I mean, they might find that there's something horrible in this bit of corridor, but maybe not. So let us try. That one's already unlocked. Why is that door unlocked? Okay. It's the limits of the burrow that I'm defining. So let us instead ask everyone to crowd into that tiny section of corridor. That door is locked. That door is unlocked. Heaven knows if this is going to work because there is a zombie between the two doors, between us and the entrance to that, and who knows what's in that corridor. However, given my dwarves' insistence on being bloody stupid... Oh, and cancel construction of that wall because it's pointless. I assume no one's actually doing a job. No. But, right. So now are you actually willing to move again, or are you now decided that you're not going to be willing to follow burrowing instructions? No, you are willing to move. Obviously you're all going to get into trouble, but hopefully enough of you, by which I mean about 3, will make it across there without being eaten by the zombie camel. Right. You haven't yet found anything terrifying in that corridor. Good. Keep going. We found a ghost, but frankly ghosts are the least of our worries. Right. So I'm going to wait and see who next comes down those stairs, and if it's someone we like. It's a pig, right? Yep, they can come in. That's a dwarf. They can come in. Stop dithering, pig. That's... Right, that's a zombie. No, it's the same place. It's the same place we've been every previous time, with a new batch of 7 dwarves each time.
Oh, I see. Okay. So
Right.
Games aren't new.
No, you create a world and then then can set up repeated things or different things in that world. So this is my 5th, I think, attempt at this particular location. I did run a brief fortress somewhere else to test some ideas, and well, let's just say that the ideas work a lot better when there aren't zombies around. But look what we have here. We have a tiny section of corridor which contains a pig and like 5 of our dwarves. This isn't exactly a good situation, but it's better than the last 3 attempts. So we actually know that there's a zombie thing there. Zombie water buffalo. So the biggest problem we have is that we have no wood. All the wood is still up on the surface, but I ain't going near the surface. So I think now we want to see if anyone is actually willing to do any digging and to dig ourselves out. Let's see, what do we want to make? I think I kind of feel that what I want is a major mistake I made with previous relatively successful version of this fortress was that I didn't adequately segregate things with doors. So I think I want to do this as a sequence of pretty much standardized. There's a grid of pretty much standardized rooms with doors separating them. So let's make our first room here. Is anyone willing to dig? Noting you have nothing else you can do. Oh, now we can stop insisting that everyone stay indoors because the doors are locked. They can't get out anyway. Yes, there will be some death going on above the surface. Like that. Note how I didn't press space immediately this time. Yes, there's a zombie water buffalo. But there are plenty of zombies around. There are going to be many more. Yes. So, you guys, are any of you actually willing to work? I wonder if they're all a bit stressed and or scared. Yes, I'm sure there are ghosts. What? That door was meant to be sealed. I think someone is scared of that ghost. And I can't lock the next door because it's... Yeah, you may be doomed now, you fool. Why did you unlock that door? I'm fairly sure I locked that door. Now you are just going to be unhappy. Oh gods, can ghosts unlock doors? That's kind of bad. That's a very good question.
I mean, drift through doors, I can see, but actually you've got to lock
Well,
the
something... That door I locked earlier. It isn't locked now.
So your entire plan to deal with the problem by means of doors.
Well, I mean, the plan to deal with it... The original plan was to deal with it by means of walls. That was unsuccessful. Because the dwarves wouldn't build a wall when they were scared. Now it turns out that my plan to deal with the problem by means of doors may be doomed as well. Because ghosts are apparently a problem with doors.
Claire has a good point, of course. Obviously, what goes to unlock doors with skeleton keys.
Thank you, Claire.
Snared.
So, one of my dwarves apparently, though they're completely unwilling to dig holes, decided that cleaning was a good plan.
Someone scrubbing the floor.
Right, this is just doomed. Right, if they won't dig reliably because there are too many zombies around, what can I do? The only thing they will do is clean.
Why are Cancell's clean? Interrupted by cow skeleton.
Yes.
Interrupted by... Moo!
I don't think cow skeletons can moo.
Maybe that's the very thing I'm operating.
I think I may declare that this location is beyond my ability to recover. I'm not going to say impossible because I have seen some of the tales on the forum, but right, yes. I think I'm going to decide that I can't recover this and therefore retire this fortress as a perfectly sensible place for the AI to start running. Well, not actually to start running, to start vaguely simulating. And I'm going to set up a sensible fortress somewhere nearby. Like, still evil, obviously, but give myself a challenge that doesn't get harder every time. Because I think it's gone past plausibly recoverable now. Actually, yes. Abandon the fortress to ruin. Yes, it's a lost cause. Right. I too am dead. Anyway, right. Your settlement has been abandoned. I'm going to get a chocolate biscuit while this sleeps.
Which is most of it apart from the insidious sexism.
I've only offered to present.
Yes, I just don't know where it is right now.
It's
It's in the house.
on the bookshelf.
Which one?
I think it might be in the room.
I think it might be in my room.
Next to children of children during
So,
It was in the house or somewhere else.
I should get myself a drink actually.
Sure.
So there is our previous fortress.
I'm going to tap very badly. Clearly, some of the floors that came before it.
It's true. When we had town hall to the pig, I thought, PDT, you haven't got more than Bane.
Anyway, so your new fortress, what? Going-
So yes, before we were here,
Yes.
I'm just now looking at the biomes, which was at the intersection of haunted tropical savanna and a haunted tropical shrubland.
Right.
Don't think there's that. Oh, there are mews in some places. Yes, I can't remember what mew is. Something unpleasant, I think.
Probably both of us make kids in yellow.
Or cats.
What's new, Christina?
So, that's because I was pressing the wrong key. So we should probably pick. I think I should pick another location fairly nearby. Kind of like the idea of somewhere with a proper aquifer, but it's a bit flat there. I mean, flat isn't really a problem. We're going to have enough problems with everything else without worrying about hills.
Complex brains.
Yes, there is a stream called Complex Brains.
No, that's just a name, not a.
Yes, not a stream of complex brains. That would be a little worrying, even for Dwarf
Well, you
Fortress.
see all the other things after equivalents down there.
The types of things, yes. But that says this square contains the stream Complex Brains. If I go west a bit, it says it also contains Letmoszaneg, my old fortress.
How are you spelling brains here?
Brains, B-R-A-I-N-S,
Okay.
sadly.
Because a brain, a B-R-A-N-E, is a complex manifold.
Yes.
Complex brains is confusing, it's like.
If we go over here, we can have an area that's only 50% haunted.
Brains are within string theory.
That's on the boundary between a haunted tropical shrubland and a mere wilderness badlands.
Is a village logic journal observation or point called the higher direction.
Let's go for that then. Okay. But since it is haunted, I'm going to go for a similar embark to before. Salt water. Let's find out. Prepare carefully, because I'm actually going to still. Oh right, those numbers are back now. Going to still do something similar to what I did last time, because I was going to say it kind of worked, but it really didn't. That's my basic build of those. I could save this as a kind of standard setup, but since I keep tweaking it, I'm going to take slightly more wood than I did last time, because I think I will probably have a bit of time to get people sorted, because there will be fewer dead things. I'm wondering if it might be worth having a few odd useful items out there. Rope might be useful for making a well. Just thinking if there's anything else I know that I'm imminently going to need. I don't think there's much. Is there anything else I really need early on? I'm going to want a carpenter probably. So I make my carpenters, wood crafters. Probably going to need some masons. Make them stone crafters as well. I have some uses for mechanics. Improve some of our picks. And that will probably do. Our new fort is called Tomim Logem. Here's. I could change its name, but I don't think that's necessary. Group Paint. Well, okay, maybe it does need its name changed. That's a rather silly name. Let's ask for a better name. Nose Tools. Yes, okay. Since I was so foolish as to decide that Group Paint was an unacceptable name, our fortress is now called Nose Tools.
Can you not change it again?
Well, I could, obviously.
Okay.
But Nose Tools is a much more amusing name, unless someone on IRC wishes to insist that I stop calling it Nose Tools. Yeah, so Juten asks whether the dead things from my previous locale might zomble over to where I am now. I don't think so, mostly, but I'm not sure. Right, so Otam Law, or Nose Tools. The Glove of Courtesies will be going over to Nose Tools to try to very rapidly establish a fortress. Whether it will work, I have no idea. New chapter of Dwarven history begins here at this place. Otam Law, Nose Tools, strike the earth. That'll be a short delay. Here, have some light music. Right, well, it's not entirely full of zombies at the moment, as far as we can see. And then it freezes, yes, shortly after starting up. It stops responding to key presses briefly. Very odd. I assume I just have to wait. Right. So we can kind of see the boundary between the haunted shrubland and the Badlands here. The Badlands are over here, bare earth, slight hills in this direction, or bare sand rather. Whereas the haunted shrubland has dead trees and dead grass. So I could kind of cheat and mostly build my fortress on the non-haunted side of the boundary, which is fairly obvious. And that might mean that fewer things inside the fortress come to life. Might, I don't know. But I think I'm going to try to do what I tried to do before and hope that having less death around.
Unless we can do something to the middle, so it's quiet.
Hope that having less death around will help.
Anything after that is the whim of whether it works.
It's true.
You should work out during the drive to for a few days after the after back. So you know what to do.
Yes, I'd like to work that out before Tuesday.
Well, it's Saturday. I mean, we could do roast potatoes and sausages for back by what, 6. That sounds reasonable.
Probably. I mean, we can always
We can always eat later.
Oh, hang on.
Or eat later.
That's a good Wednesday, isn't it? Break us up to 6.
Yes. The reason why I stop potatoes at 6 is because it's for those occasions when you're not here. So.
Although I normally make plans to sweet carrot. I'm not sure you know how to do sweet carrot.
No.
Yes, so we can sausages and sweet carrot and something. Do that.
Right.
Good luck. Good luck.
I think I looked when I got was wrapping stuff.
I wonder where rope is in this lot then. Not there. Might qualify as chains. Not thread. Yeah, I think maybe a rope is treated as a kind of chain. So let us.
I don't wish you to play badly, but okay. Someone loses. Maybe.
And then I also want to say this area should be a meeting area so that people have a habit of going there. Time seems not to be a problem here. We haven't yet encountered. Right, we have one monitor lizard corpse, way over there. So we do have a slight need to hurry. But it looks like people are coming indoors fairly enthusiastically simply because that's where the meeting area is. Right. I think everyone's indoors. I will just check. 1 indoor dwarf, 2 indoor dwarves, 3 indoor dwarves, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, all the dwarves are currently indoors. I have just asked if someone would please build the wall. Right. So that was how it was meant to go at the start of the earlier one. Here in this world, our undead monitor lizard, which is the only known undead creature, is still like on the far side of the stream. So, I mean, I may have been a little over-efficient this time. And I don't have the fallback of nick things from other... from previous attempts at the fortress. But everyone is indoors. So, now we need to start making ourselves a fortress. So... we have quite a lot of wood, which is nice because we can use that to make beds. We have a nice load of pigs. We are going to need some stone fairly early, though, so that's going to involve digging down, which is going to probably involve discovering the aquifer and working out what to do with it. But it should only be a fairly slow-flowing aquifer, so we should be able to cope with that. And we can turn... one important thing is we should turn, when we find the aquifer, we should build a water source. We should build ourselves a sensible water source in it so that the dwarves can drink water until we actually get farming going. But farming we can do quite early. So, I really don't have any clear idea about the layout I want. I think I'm going to start with quite long, narrow corridors between rooms. The idea being that I can stick a door halfway along and then put a wall on whichever side of that door I turn out to want to wall off permanently, if I need to isolate areas. And a 5x5 standard room is enough room for a workshop and some space for storing its supplies around the edges. So let us initially set ourselves up a couple of rooms, which are probably going to be the piggery and the farm, and then we'll do some more later, because I mean mostly to get all these pigs out of the way because they're kind of inconvenient. So all these 1/4s are the roots of trees on the layer above, so they're not a problem. They count as soil for most purposes, though you can't apparently attach doors to them. I discovered in my previous thing. So now I should be able to build a farm plot. There, and let us designate that area as a pasture, a pen or pasture. I forgot to bring cats. Curses. I'll put. No. That's annoying because it means we're going to get flies and such like, and rats, and we won't have anything to capture them. They can do in Dwarf Fortress. So the animals now go into the southern room, and someone sorts out the northern room. Right. So a thing I'd probably want to build fairly early on is a rubbish dump. And I have a kind of a design for a rubbish dump. That probably needs access to a lower layer to work well. The reason I want a rubbish dump is I want somewhere that I can hurl dead bits of dead animal into, where they won't be easily able to get out. Right, we now have that. So now a farm plot. So I should now say plump helmets all year round. So someone is now taking it upon themselves to plant plump helmets. So I'm also going to want a staircase, and let's give the staircase its own room as well. Because I need the staircase in order to dig out the planned rubbish dump. I really want to be able to build a wall across it at the lower level, but that's going to require getting some stone. So that's going to require mining down even further. I shall make the staircase narrow for now, because anything I build I need to be in a position to seal off. So while normally I'd make my staircases 2 by 2, I'm going to make this a 1 by 1 staircase. With admittedly this weirdly large room around it, just because I'm making all of my rooms the same size. No, not there. So, yes, our upper layer we're in mostly sandy loam. Lower layer is black sand.
As I thought, they like play the most dramatic route possible to the kind of ground somewhere from 2 sets and 2 breaks down. Could have run the nature of the sound, what would have been a better film for future kids to enjoy.
One rolling drop of it.
5 on the middle.
Yeah.
So then
Maybe
let's
at this point, Djokovic must be spitting blood.
No, apparently he didn't know. He was angry at that too, but he's easy to do. Was he beaten or injured or something?
So let's keep digging down. So no, actually, I should dig down, at least probe and see where, if at all, I find an aquifer, or where I find some solid rock that I can mine. Right. So we have found a damp sand layer down there. So if that layer is damp, that means that at this layer we can build our water supply. So let's just do what I've been doing everywhere and dig out a large room around the stairs, and then a separate room. Oops. There. Over here. Generally biasing myself towards going to the east because that's the direction where it isn't haunted, and then that will be our... We'll then dig down from there into the aquifer and see what it looks like. So this room is going to be the main rubbish dump. What I'm going to do therefore is to make it quite deep so that it will be hard for things to crawl out of it. So it's going to be kind of conical. Actually, it'll also be wet at the bottom. Added drowning of anything we throw in there, but it probably won't drown. And we'll make a small hole in the centre of the room at the top that we can throw things into. Okay, we can't maybe make that quite as deep as I made my previous one. Also, they're digging this in the wrong order. Don't dig out the lower layers before you dig out the upper layers. That's just going to cause you embarrassment and probably fall injuries. Okay, that's not flooding significantly fast. In that case, I think we can safely dig out that square and find out what's below it. And they won't drown while digging that out. What I think I found... Oh, has that flooded quickly? No, that's still 1 of 7 water. So what I think I found before is that even in areas that officially don't have an aquifer, there is often a layer of damp sand or similar just above the bedrock, and that will produce a small amount of water. Right, so now how things are arranged, in case it's not clear, is that this room is one of my standard size rooms with one hole in the floor here in the centre, marked open space, which then opens onto this room, which is a deep, though admittedly climbable, pit. And then my intention, maybe I should waste a wood on this for now actually, is to wall that off. Yes, let's wall that off with... I'll spend a wood to have that ready in case we need it. Right. Meanwhile over here I'm trying to dig my water supply. Which when I made it in the previous fort looked like this, and that worked reasonably well. So the idea is that water spontaneously generates in the square adjacent to an aquifer square, and so we want to have a lot of squares that are adjacent to aquifer squares, which means we want 2 by something channels. I'm now wondering if I can actually safely dig down 2 levels here. We'll see how fast the water comes in, and if we can, it's probably worth digging this out fairly deep because then we'll get more water into it. Yes.
Medvedev still got a link, hasn't he? Medvedev still has a link, hasn't he?
Yes, he's serving a photo.
Okay.
Right, so very little water has come in yet. So let's channel out a bit deeper there. It should be safe. no one has drowned, good. And this level, again, we only have 1 of 7 water, but on the other hand, we're now in a limestone layer, and while admittedly in the real world we get a lot of water running through limestone, I'm not sure you do here. So, but that has given us some stone and also tells us roughly where the stone is. So, let us fairly close to the stone layer dig ourselves out a room for doing stoneworking in. Oops. And let us build a mason's workshop, which, since the only material we currently have, well, I mean, we can build it out of some limestone, can't we? Temporarily. Yeah, go on, build that out of limestone and set up a stone stockpile around it. So that will cause dwarves to haul stone up into the same room with the mason's workshop. You can see our farmer is still happily planting seeds. The pigs are all happy. The grazing animals are not yet, the camel is not yet starving. So all is kind of well with the world. Hopefully this area is not flooding so fast that we can't get the limestone out. No, it's not. So I won't designate that area as a water source just yet, because I think in fact I was mistaken to dig it out so deep, and now it's going to take a little while for it to fill with water. Right, so now I think I want to make some rock blocks, which are useful things for building workshops out of and useful things for building walls out of. Actually, do I want... No, I don't think I need 2 batches of rock blocks. I haven't got that much limestone at the moment, and I'm marginally worried about how we... I think we want some doors. Marginally worried about how we deal with the aquifer, though not very, because it isn't a very fast flowing aquifer, so we probably do it by constructing some kind of a sump just below the aquifer layer that will collect enough water that we don't have to worry.
I did briefly mishear that as aquifer, and I assumed that you were transporting yaks into your fortress.
Don't think we have any yaks with us. Hang on, I'll check. No, we have a camel, a water buffalo, and a bunch of pigs. So I think that means that and we can wall off the aquifer, of course. Yes. So actually, what I should do, yes, is rather amusingly, of course, I need enough stone to build walls to make blocks with which I can wall off the aquifer, which means that I may have to do a kind of sump trick temporarily anyway, but that's not going to be a serious problem, is it? No. So I dig a staircase through the aquifer there. I'm not. So let's assume that that limestone layer will stay dry. No, not like that. So that's our kind of short-term sump and source and limestone quarry. So let's not dig any deeper for now. Okay, that makes me worry that maybe this is a limestone aquifer. Because in particular, the water can't have run down the stairs, so I'm going to assume that that is actually a genuine limestone aquifer and keep staring, as it were, downwards. Oops. And then X. Don't try to dig out that layer, instead go another layer down. That layer is not damp, right. So let us dig out cancel anything in the lower staircase. So that then gives us some limestone rocks. Oh, come on. I think that may have given us one limestone rock. Right, meanwhile we have some blocks. So what we can do now... actually we can't, because that's... Oh no, that's... And it's made a door. Excellent. Right, where do I want to put my first door? Let's put it next to the rubbish dump. Next, let us deconstruct this workshop, because that workshop is made out of rough stone, which cost quite a lot of stone, and we seem to have a bit of a shortage of stone at the moment. So there goes a dwarf to set up that thing. So we'll reconstruct the workshop out of blocks instead, which are cheaper. Rather, out of one block. Well, no, not really. One square's worth of blocks.
Apparently the change over which was crying behind his tower because the other thing was the crowd was supporting him. He's what he's actually like for years because no one likes him and now they like him.
So it doesn't look like there's a significant amount of water leaking in here. The question is, how brave am I feeling? So I think we can also remove that now, because we can now reconstruct that wall in less valuable stone blocks. We could probably do with giving our dwarves somewhere to sleep. They would probably prefer to sleep in rooms made of limestone. So as a short-term measure, let's dig out a room down there. A medium-term measure. Also, we are going to want some more workshops, and I think, given that we need rock, we should continue to dig out at this level. Interesting. damp stone at this layer? Oh, right. Because we're just below the my reservoir on the floor above. Well, that's fine. I'm sure we won't accidentally flood the residential areas with water from the reservoir. Ah, the undead monitor lizard corpse has found one of the hippos. So, who wins out of a monitor lizard, a dead monitor lizard, and a hippo? So far, the monitor lizard corpse has somewhat slightly injured the hippo. But this, of course, is all up on the surface. How my dwarves know about this, or how I know about this, or indeed who I am, is not clear. Yes, the dwarves, if they find a damp stone, will refuse to dig it unless you confirm you actually want to dig out the damp stone, because there might be some horrific water source behind it. Right, so we are getting water coming down the stairs, so I do need to wall off upstairs, but that's fine. Meanwhile, let us build a carpenter's workshop down here, and put a wood stockpile around it. So that then we can build some beds down here. Right, so now we've got quite a lot of limestone kicking around. Let's add a couple of jobs to build some blocks up there. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of whinging about vanishing water sources because the water levels, because the reservoir isn't full yet, so things will keep being just about deep enough that they can drink from it, and then the water will run away. This will sort itself out. So I think we've got reasonably decent quantity of blocks now. No, we haven't. Let's wait for that job to finish. Because then what I want to do is to dig out the ground around the staircase on these two levels and seal off the staircase with limestone blocks. And then that will stop the water coming in. And you can see the water's evaporated from the bottom of the staircase anyway, so it may not be a serious problem, but maybe that it evaporates faster than it flows in. But better to be on the safe side. All my dwarves are getting thirsty, which is a pity because I went and built this in a way that requires quite a long time to fill up. And there's enough water down at this level now, almost. So I think if I mark that as a water source. Then maybe some of them will try to drink there, but they will find it a bit difficult because the water's water level is still a bit low. So, okay, there's a slight danger that now everyone will be continuously trying to drink and failing. But maybe someone will actually succeed in drinking.
This seems like something that people shouldn't find that hard. But okay.
Well, we're not getting a load of job cancellation messages now, so I think they're actually getting some water inside them. That's nice. Right, notice how all the dwarves are no longer flashing with blue down arrows. That means they are not thirsty. They are annoyed after drinking water without a well.
If they're flashing up arrows, if you overfed them water, they're going to burn.
I don't think I've ever seen that happen. But yes, blue down arrows indicate thirsty dwarves, brown down arrows, flashing to brown down arrows indicates hungry dwarves, and they are no longer thirsty. They also like being near a waterfall, which is probably actually just is the water leaking into the... maybe I should just leave the water leaking into the staircase because it forms a waterfall. But like, I tend to feel that uncontrolled water in a fortress is a dangerous thing. Let's set something up properly with a pump later. So, have we got that carpenter's workshop? We have, right. Well, I think my dwarves are going to start complaining that they haven't got beds soon. So let's make a few beds. This is make beds in the kind of literal sense. Right, there is a dwarf making a bed. We would like more blocks, please, but... oh no, maybe we don't need more blocks. How many blocks have we got now? Right, we've got lots of blocks there. So let's do the slightly brave thing of carving out some more of the soil around that staircase. What on earth did I ask to make that of? May not have been appropriate. Yeah, I'm losing track of what mode I'm in. That's blocks. I'm building the corner walls first because if someone builds both edges adjacent to a corner, then you can't build the corner. So actually I can safely build, now it occurs to me. No, build construction wall. Those, no, not in limestone, yes, don't. Right, so I can build those, but I'll leave the other two out until we've got those walls put in. So this walling off of the aquifer should stop water pouring down the staircase. Oh, also I should reseal the rubbish dump. Should also tag it as a rubbish dump at some point, but right. And then I will need another 8 limestone blocks for the next floor, which I think is aquiferous. So 2 more construct blocks jobs there. Then we probably want some more doors. So let's schedule building some doors so that we can isolate different parts of the fortress better. Right, our grower has planted most of the thing with plump helmets. And people don't seem to be unhappy about their lack of food yet, which is nice. Though thus probably another thing to start thinking about is building a butcher's shop so that we can start turning the pigs and such like, actually not the pigs initially, turn the grazing animals into, or the animals that would be grazing into food. Don't know that we've actually got a butcher designated, have we? No. Right, who's bored? You're bored. You are now our butcher. And have now gone off to build a butchery. Or whatever. We probably also want a food stockpile. We probably want our dining room to be in the rock layers so that it can be of high quality. Let's put it on a different floor from the initial bedrooms. So let's dig out a room there that will become the dining room. Actually, a room there that can be the food store. All those blocks are ready, so let's carve out that layer just in case the water's coming in from that level. Don't think it is, but so the water depth now is 3 of 7 in the lower level of the reservoir. I think the lower level doesn't actually get any water coming in through that. I think that limestone is... I'm going to actually assume that the damp... No. Was the dampness at this layer just caused by water seeping through from this layer? Do we trust that? No, let's not trust it, and let's build a nice block wall around that layer just in case. It won't cause any harm. And I suppose we could just wait and see if any water comes in. Dithering too much. Yeah, let's wait and see if any water comes in. Like, I can see if the bottom of the staircase ends up being wet. And if it does, then we start worrying. So how are we doing for beds? Can I install any beds down here yet? Yes. So this is temporarily at least designate that area as a shared bedroom. Since we've probably got someone who can do that. I think I gave someone the stone engraving skill. They can start clearing that out as well. Haha, we have started actually producing plump helmets. We've also started producing a swarm of flies because I didn't bring any cats with me because idiot. So there's still plenty of wood up there. Oh right, of course that stockpile still allows wood, doesn't it? Let's stop wood being a thing we keep in that upper stockpile, and that will cause the dwarves to move the wood down into the lower stockpile. There are cleverer ways I could do that, but that will work. Actually, yes, quick question. Yes, we are growing stacks of plump helmets. Excellent. And no one is yet eating them. Once we have the northern one of these rooms dug out, I will designate it as a food stockpile. And then someone will bring the plump helmets down there where they will keep better. Probably want, though, something to store them in. I thought a large pot was something you could build at a mason's workshop, but maybe that's a craft dwarf's thing. And let's just start sticking doors all over the place. And since apparently we can't build large pots there, let's just keep making doors out of stone. Right, so now let us designate that as a food stockpile, but with the slight make a change that food does not include seeds, because those belong upstairs. Eventually we'll probably have a food stockpile and a booze stockpile. Indeed, yes. Let's just build some space here. So that we can build a still for making some booze before the dwarves get pissed off at not having anything nice to drink. It's like we appear to be growing plump helmets faster than anyone actually wants to eat them. You can see now plump helmets are being shifted down into the food stockpile. Hooray! Incidentally, how is our... Right. See, things are getting more entertaining up on the surface. You now have a bunch of undead rhinoceroses wandering around. I think no one has smoothing walls enabled. Let's pick someone at random and enable it for them. Also, if that's going to be a dining room, we probably want some tables and chairs in there. So let's set the Mason's Workshop. Let's add those to the list of things the Mason's Workshop should be doing. Oops. Right. So our grazing animals don't seem to be starving yet, which is nice. It's possible we'll turn out not to actually need the animals at all if we grow enough plump helmets. Of course, dwarves would like to have their own bedrooms, so indeed, if we look at this dwarf who is currently sleeping, she is embarrassed after sleeping without a proper room. Annoyed after being pestered by flies. See, I'm going to lose this fort because I didn't bring any cats. Annoyed at the lack of chairs. Annoyed after drinking water without a well. I brought slightly surplus wood. We could probably build a well with a bit of care. Now she's going to be annoyed because it's too noisy in here. Especially when we start digging. That's an area marked for smoothing the stone in order to make it nicer.
I pressed some button on my B term, suddenly we got twice as big in both directions, and we got twice as big as well.
That's entertaining. Right, so I think I should now... Am I going to make everyone's bedroom 5 by 5 squares? They're going to be quite pleased with that. Sod it, yes. This is going to be an underpopulated fortress anyway. I could do a macro to lay these out, but I'm too lazy. sound like I'm not expecting to have many dwarves in this fortress. So let's attempt to get to a position where we can build a well then. That's going to need a lot of blocks so that I can build a new floor in there. What's our block situation like at the moment? We have a lot of blocks because I decided not to wall off the second layer of the thing. So let us, actually no, not quite like that. Build some floor there. And there. And there. Leaving a hole where we can put a well. Ah, I know why we're getting things growing on the cave floor, which I didn't get in my test fortress. The wet season has arrived. It's because while here in this fortress we haven't penetrated the caverns, the caverns in this area have been penetrated by the previous fort like 5 miles to the west. So that's why there's all this stuff growing on the floor, which in turn is why bringing grazing animals is not such a disaster here. So we get the advantage of having been of a spring has arrived on the calendar. Note on the calendar in that it's not actually spring here because we're tropical. But the calendar says it's spring. So now the dwarves are slowly building that floor. Down here they're digging out some more bedrooms, and a lot of them are in fact sleeping, which is fine. Oh, we don't have anyone designated as a brewer, do we? Right, who should be the brewer? Let's make that the dwarf who is currently drinking. Brewer. Also, let us remove the bit that I'm going to be sealing off from the water source activity zone. So what do we need in order to make a well? We need a bucket, and we need mechanisms. And I think we turn out to need a rope, but I brought a rope for precisely this purpose. So, can I make a bucket at... no, not at the mason's workshop, at the carpenter's workshop. I can, right. I've got a bit of spare wood, I think. And then I need mechanisms. I was slightly going, did I have a use for this room? Can anyone remember what I wanted to put in that room? Maybe I should not worry about what I wanted to put in that room and just stick a mechanics workshop in there anyway. Craftsdwarf's workshop, that's what I was going to stick in there. Well, we can put the Craftsdwarf's workshop in the next door room. That's fine. So everyone, well actually, Everyone is eating, sleeping, or drinking at the moment, which is fine. It's midnight. I should stop soon. The thing is that everything's actually going all right at the moment. I might forget what I'm doing. So yes, everyone is annoyed at the lack of proper bedrooms, chairs and wells. All of which we are working on. We have no shortage of plump helmets. I think the pigs were unnecessary. But we can't brew a drink because we don't have anything to put the drink in. So about that Craftsforce workshop, we haven't yet dug out where it was going to be, have we? We're going to need some mechanisms. Make some mechanisms. Right, the reservoir is actually filling up now, indeed. I think I might want to put a water source on the next level up. Not quite. I should also designate that as a rubbish dump. So that when we do need to throw anything away, we've got somewhere to put it. Let's start installing beds in the bedrooms, in the new bedrooms. For no very good reason putting them in the centre. Actually, because it means that it's easy to designate the correct area to be part of the bedroom. Going to need a lot more doors. So now I'm marking each of these beds as actually being in a bedroom once all the space has been dug out around it. So as to make sure the bedroom ends up being the correct size. Because where the official limits of the bedroom control how happy the dwarf is with it, so they will be happy with it if, for instance, it has walls all the way around. And more happy the more walls and the nicer walls it has. I think probably I might want to redesignate each of them once the doors are in place. Need lots of doors. Put doors around the... Yes, I think dwarves do get slightly grumpy if there are if there's actual digging going on while they're asleep. But I'm not sure it's even that serious problem. Okay, we have a food storage problem. We've grown so many plump helmets, we haven't got anywhere to keep them. Oh well. If they start rotting in the fields, well, actually, it's slightly bad if they start rotting in the fields. So we need some containers. We really need some containers, which I think means we need a craft source workshop. Which means I think that I should prioritise digging out the place where I plan to put the craft source workshop. There. This fortress is going to have so many doors in it. But thank you for that prioritisation. Now let's hope a craft source workshop is what I wanted. Out of limestone blocks, a willow bucket, a sheep wool rope, and a limestone mechanism. We're really lucky there's even someone who knows how to make a well in this fortress. Right, we have a craft source workshop. Okay, that's not where it comes from. Oh no, rock pot, I think that's what I want. I'll have to make a couple of rock pots and see what happens. Assuming, like, we do have a stone. I did designate someone as a stone crafter, didn't I? Yes. Right. So, what I'm actually going to do is, since that hasn't been occupied yet, is redo that. So that I think it includes its doors. So we can see that we have a bunch of rooms which are labelled as quarters and modest quarters. So I want to carry on moving the beds into their correct places. And now remove the last bed from that room so that it can be put in the centre as well. Actually, then we want that entire area, probably not smoothed to priority 2. Smoothed. Okay, that doesn't seem to be setting it to smooth at a lower priority. Oh well. Cancel all of that designation and we'll try again. Oh, I think I'm just terribly confused. Right. Nonetheless. Because ultimately we want all of the bedrooms to have smoothed and indeed carved stone walls. Right. Go there. Oh yes, I should designate that room down there. About that size as the dining room. Right, it's 21 minutes past midnight. I think things are stable, so I'm going to save now and snooze. There aren't any machines yet. And yes, well, this fortress is not going disastrously yet. Like, we have food, we have water, we have the ability to make booze. We have a fly problem due to the lack of cats. We have, as yet, no surprise undead. We don't have any idea what we're going to do if any immigrants turn up, given we've sealed the place off. That might be the next thing to think about. But, yes, that has been fairly successful. So I think I shall stop now. Thank you for watching and good night.